I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law. I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed.
I know that Trump does not really believe that he is protecting the American citizens with this executive order. I just know it. I just know it. He said he wants to unleash law enforcement. Unleash, guys. Do you guys peep the language? I can't believe this.
I want to be really clear about what this new executive order does. If you're Black, it doesn't do anything for you. It essentially is the same for you. You just still act like the same way that you've been doing. Just know that the police are your enemy. Proceed with caution. Just keep doing your same thing. If you're white, this is where it changes for you, because suddenly all of these things that you've been doing all of your life, like the petitions, the standing in front of a store and asking for someone's support, the protesting, the carrying a sign, the wearing a button, the having a shirt, the wearing the flag, the scarf, that is what's going to change for you. When you show up to a protest with your sign and expect reasonably, just like you have for most of your adult life, to show up and have it be peaceful, that will change for you. The privilege of a person's whiteness in relation to police is changing with this executive order. So if you're Black or brown, it's the same as before. And I don't mean to reduce it down. It's just, as I was reading it, it sounds intimidating and it sounds scary. But then I thought, through the lens of my Black and brown brothers and sisters, all this is doing is just making it more obvious. This is something that people I've worked with and who I call friends said, like, oh yeah, this is nothing new. The thing that's new is just now it's on paper. This order politicizes police, threatens protest rights, and centralizes power in the hands of the federal government. This is the executive order I'm talking about that was published on the 28th of April and is titled Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. Now, the three things that this does: number one, it makes law enforcement political and really protects officers. What it's essentially saying is that if an officer is accused of, harassment or violence or anything, doesn't matter, they'll be protected. So if there's an incident like the one that happened with George Floyd, fine. If there's any kind of incident where a police officer is interacting with someone and injures them, there's no investigation. On the contrary, if someone injures a police officer, now that is not going to be okay. The second thing it does is it really suppresses dissent and protests, and it really challenges what a peaceful assembly looks like, because it could be accused of being criminal. It is giving a ton of resources to the federal government to reallocate to state and local areas to be able to control the public. We're talking tear gas, rubber bullets, that sort of thing. And then finally, it erodes state and local authority. It's essentially saying that if the local jurisdictions don't comply, that they'll just be fired. So it's essentially putting loyalists and MAGA folk in law enforcement at every level of government, and putting their policies in the position of overseeing citizens including peaceful protests.
America, land of the free, home of the stormtroopers. And why is this so scary? Well, what Donald Trump has done through this executive order, he says, look, local police, if you violate someone's rights, we are going to indemnify you. We're going to get all those law firms which have promised millions and millions of dollars in free attorney time to defend you and indemnify you if you violate someone's rights. What's even worse, they are making the enemy anyone who tries to hold police accountable for violating someone's rights. Does this regime, does this country understand that we have a United States Constitution which protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, and where law enforcement comes in and unreasonably seizes someone like they did to a family in Oklahoma who was totally innocent, and taking all their cash and taking all their phones and leaving them helpless and just saying, sorry, it was a bad day for you, and they know that they were wrong, but there are no repercussions whatsoever. There's nothing where you can have something that goes to the family. Instead, these officers are going to be protected through this new executive order, through the law firms that Donald Trump has now gotten them to bend the knee, and through indemnification of any officers who violate someone's rights. I mean, this is the closest we are to martial law in the United States of America. The Constitution is being thrown out of the window, and don't be surprised when you see the increased militarization of local police forces and the violation of rights.
He has an order said he's going to unleash the police onto the citizens to protect the innocent. He's gonna, in other words, like they had reins, he's gonna take off the reins and let them go wild. And on top of that, the top law firms that got together and contributed over $1 billion to this man, he's gonna utilize them to defend the cops pro bono for any civil rights violation acts that they do. It's not enough he gave them complete immunity, but now he's setting it up to where he's going to have a whole collision of law firms, top law firms, to defend these cops that he unleashes onto the public. And I'm not through. That's not all his executive order is going to do. He's also going to get his DOJ, Defense Secretary, and Department of Secretary to come up. He's giving them 90 days to come up with the plan of how he can incorporate the military to assist the police department to go out and supposedly protect and serve the innocent and get the criminals. So what he's getting ready to do is, the minute people want to freak out about not having food, about not having necessities, about not being able to get anything that they need, and they want to go out into the streets, he's going to have the police and the military waiting on you. He's setting you up to be picked off in the streets by the police and the military working together. This is what you guys have brought into everyone's lives, including your own. And if you think it's just going to be the black people that's going to get hit, watch it. Watch what happens. Once the protesters are out there the way they're going to be, because people are going to be hot and pissed and very, very, very vocal. And they're going to be met with retaliation. Trump already knows what he's doing. He knows people are not going to like it. He knows people are going to react. And what he's doing, he's setting you up.
Literally unleashes them with next to no limits. Frankly, it does 3 really dangerous things. 1, it shields police from being held accountable if they violated somebody's rights. 2, it forces city to accept military gear and national security forces on their streets. 3, and it threatens local leaders who try to reform abusive departments. And before you say, it's about crime, let's take a look at some history. Our police system was built on slave patrol down in the South. After the Civil War, law enforcements were used to uphold Jim Crow, arresting black Americans for just existing, taking up space, just moving, trying to live free. In the 1960s, even Nixon ran on law and order. That was code for, let's crush the civil rights movement. And under COINTELPRO, the FBI didn't just go after criminals. They spied on and destroyed civil rights groups, anti-war activists, and even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reagan also militarized the police. In 1994, the Clinton crime bill, and now Trump's unleash the police EO. Every time America says law and order, it's marginalized communities that always pay the price. Always. It's not about keeping people safe. It's about controlling the narrative and everything. Honestly, this executive order is about racial profiling and crackdown on protests and abuse, all under the fake assumption of safety. But real safety doesn't come through tanks rolling through our neighborhoods. It comes from trust. It comes from accountability, from equal protections under the law. This isn't American. This isn't freedom. This is history repeating itself, and it's up to us this time to defend it.
But I'll tell you which section freaks me out the most. It's section 5. Let me read this to you, right? Holding state and local officials accountable. The Attorney General shall pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures to enforce the rights of Americans impacted by crime and shall prioritize prosecution of any applicable violations of federal criminal law with respect to state and local jurisdictions whose officials, A, willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including the directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out necessary duties for public safety and law enforcement, or B, unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that restrict law enforcement's activities and endanger citizens.
This is terrifying to me. In summary, he declares that the military, the police, and ICE shall be unleashed into the streets of America to root out anything declared as crime. It says they will be shielded from liability for their actions by the Department of Justice. To me, that sounds like they can ignore laws and rights without repercussions. Do they need warrants? Do they need probable cause anymore? I really don't know. The next part says that state and local officials will be held accountable for obstructing Trump's idea of justice. What does that mean? Will judges be prosecuted for issuing verdicts Trump doesn't like? Then it says that within 90 days, the military is to be used to prevent crime. So the military will be carrying out the law, shielded from liability, and state officials cannot stand in their way. Please, can someone explain to me how this differs from martial law?
This is scary, as if it wasn't already bad enough, as if there wasn't already enough police brutality